Good afternoon. I'm California State Treasurer Fiona Ma, and I would like to welcome you to this CalABLE webinar. As State Treasurer, I believe that CalABLE is an excellent financial tool for Californians with disabilities. For the first time, eligible individuals on means-tested benefit programs can save up to $100,000 without having their benefits impacted. CalABLE is a game changer, providing people with disabilities a low-cost, tax-advantaged way to save and invest for a better financial future. I am committed to promoting this program and for doing all that I can to continue to help people with disabilities strengthen their financial position to achieve a better life experience. Thank you for joining us today and for your continued support of the CalABLE program. I will turn things over to the CalABLE team to begin today's webinar.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Thomas Martin. I'm the Executive Director of CalABLE. Just a bit about me. I am autistic, and so are both of my kids. So CalABLE is really important for me, for my family, for planning purposes and that sort of stuff. So today's webinar, like Maria mentioned, is going to be about how to maximize your account. In particular, planning for how can you max it out between now and the end of the year. Reminders about how you can add money in and what you can do with it. All that sort of fun stuff. Reminder about the annual contribution limit. So great stuff to help you plan for the rest of this year, but then also great information for the future too. How to think about the account forever. How to think about it for next year and every year after. So thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started, I'm going to hand it over to Madeline to do a couple poll questions. So Madeline.
Great, thank you, Thomas. Let me get this poll up. So our first poll, we just want to know who is on today's webinar. Are you a current account owner? Do you manage an account for somebody else as an authorized legal representative? Are you a parent or guardian of a potential CalABLE participant? Or maybe you are a potential CalABLE participant either now or maybe you'll be eligible in 2026, which we will get into later in the presentation, of course. And then are you a state employee, a service provider, or maybe somebody else? Please let us know. We'll give everyone just a few more seconds to fill out this poll. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and we'll share these results. Okay, so we have a lot of account owners, 15%, and then lots of authorized legal representatives as well, 21%. So thank you for joining. We're going to be talking about maximizing your CalABLE account for the end of the year. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff. There's also a lot of people who are potentially eligible who are joining today. We'll talk about eligibility and how to open a CalABLE account as well. And then you'll learn how, if you open a CalABLE account after this webinar, you can maximize for the end of the year. And then to those of you who are state employees or service providers, welcome. We will be providing information that you can share with your clients. Okay, so now I have one more poll here. Have you attended a CalABLE webinar before? Yes or no? And I'll just give this just a few seconds. Let me share these results. So it's about 50-50. We have slightly more people who have joined at 51% who have attended before. And then 49% are first-time attendees. So welcome. We're going to have a lot of great information today for everyone. And I will turn things back over to Thomas to start with some CalABLE basics.
Great. So yes, almost a 50-50 split of who's been here before, who's watched this before, people who are new. Either way, hopefully this is going to be helpful information for you. Even if you don't have an account, you never heard of CalABLE, we will give you some of that basic info. So let's start with that, CalABLE basics. So first of all, what is CalABLE? So CalABLE is a savings and investment program for the disability community. This is a state program. I'm a state worker. And the goal is to help people with disabilities be able to save money, set it aside for the future, spend it when they need to, and do all this while protecting access to benefits, like SSI. But we'll get into that in just a bit. So before getting into too much, let's quickly go over who is eligible for a CalABLE account for those who might not be aware. So there's two things to keep in mind. So one is, do you have an eligible disability? The two ways to tell that are, one, you have if you're eligible for supplemental security income, SSI, or Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI. If you're eligible for one or the other, then you already know the disability itself is going to be an eligible one. However, you can also self-certify. So like you don't have to receive benefits. I don't get benefits. I can still self-certify as having a disability. I can still have an account. So if you're looking for more information on that, our website is on the screen, but it is calable.ca.gov/eligibility. And that will walk you through a bit more detail, where to look for the information about approved diagnoses, that sort of thing. So that's issue one. Do you have an eligible disability? The second thing is, when did the disability begin? So as of today, as of right now, 2025, you have to have a disability that began before the age of 26. So it doesn't matter how old you are today. I am over 26, but I can still have an account because my disability began at birth. My disability began before 26, so I can still have an account. So that's as of today, but what we're excited about is next year. So starting next year, you can have a CalABLE account if you have a disability that began before the age of 46 instead of 26. So it's expansion. It doesn't affect anyone who, if you're eligible today, has nothing to do with you. But for someone who might not be eligible today, if their disability began between the ages of 26 and 45, somewhere in that range, they would be able to open an account and get all the great benefits that people eligible today can get. So again, you don't have to receive benefits. You don't have to have ever received benefits in order to have an account. I don't. Um, you can be working like me. I'm working, or you cannot be working, like my kids are obviously not working. Doesn't matter. Income, employment, those don't affect whether or not you're eligible. The main thing is you want to think about the disability and when it began. Um, and again, when did the disability begin? Doesn't matter how old you are today, just depends when the disability began. Okay, so that's who can have an account. But why would you actually want to have an account? So some things to keep in mind. So you might want to have an account because living with a disability can be expensive. There's a study that found that the cost of living for the average person with a disability is 29% higher than someone without a disability. It costs 29% more in order to have the same quality of life as someone without a disability because of various expenses that can come with having a disability. And that's before considering things like it can be harder to work for a lot of people with disabilities. Um, you might want to have a CalABLE account because you want to protect eligibility for benefits. You want to be able to save money and still get benefits at the same time. Or simply, you just want to be able to plan for the future. You want to know that you have some savings set aside, some plan for the long term. Those are all great reasons to have a CalABLE account. So let's talk about benefits. So I mentioned this a couple times, that CalABLE can help you maintain benefits. So for those who don't know, if you receive certain benefits, SSI being the biggest one that people think about, there are limits to how much you can have in assets, meaning how much money you can have on hand. SSI limits individuals so they can't have more than $2,000. $2,000 is next to nothing. $2,000 is basically impossible to be independent with. I want my kids to be independent as adults. I want them to be able to live alone if they can. I want them to be able to do whatever they want to do. $2,000 wouldn't make that possible. But that's why you have a CalABLE account. So for SSI recipients, you can have up to $100,000 saved in a CalABLE account and still keep SSI benefits coming in. And you can save even more if you're not worried about SSI. This is also true of any other local, state, or federal program that looks at assets. So besides SSI, you have Section 8 housing choice vouchers. You have CalFresh food stamps. Starting next year, Medi-Cal is going to have an asset limit of $130,000. But again, CalABLE accounts are exempt from those standard limits. And CalABLE is also exempt from Medi-Cal estate recovery. So for those who are familiar with that, or who aren't familiar with that, someone who receives Medi-Cal at the time of death, often their estate has to pay back whatever they used in Medi-Cal benefits. And that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sometimes it's millions of dollars in Medi-Cal benefits. But what you have saved in a CalABLE account is exempt from that. So instead of losing everything in your estate at the time of death, whatever's in your CalABLE account is almost always exempt from that estate recovery through Medi-Cal. So it can be a huge benefit for Medi-Cal recipients. Okay, so that's how CalABLE helps protect benefits. So you have this money saved up, you're protecting your benefits. What are you actually going to use the money on? Um, what's great is there's a lot of stuff you can use it on. You can use it for education, you can use it for housing, food, healthcare, of course, vocational training, really quite a few things you can use the account for. What you really need to keep in mind is what it says at the top of the screen. It needs to be for expenses that maintain or improve the health, independence, or quality of life of the account holder. That's what matters. Is it benefiting their health, independence, or quality of life? So when you're considering whether or not something might be an eligible expense, is it improving quality of life? Is it going to make them more independent? That's what you'd want to think about. So so it includes some of the more obvious things like healthcare, but it can also include something recreational if it's going to improve their quality of life. So it can be very broad. Now, one caveat is for SSI recipients, if you're withdrawing money from the account to pay for housing expenses, you'll have to use it within the same calendar month that it is withdrawn. So you take the money out, today, you'd have to use it by the end of the month to pay for those expenses. So it's just something to think about. That's only for SSI recipients, though. If you are receiving SSI and you don't spend it within the same month, there can be an impact on your benefit payment. Okay, so those are some of the basics of how CalABLE accounts work. So again, the biggest goal here today is to talk about how to maximize the account. So these are the main things we're going to get into today. So one is how you contribute money into the account. Two is how do you gift money into someone's account or be the lucky recipient of gift money from someone else. And three is what do you do with the money when it's in the account? How can you use it for you? How can you invest that money? So let's start with contributions. So how much money can you add into a CalABLE account? So I already mentioned that if you receive SSI, you can have up to $100,000 in your CalABLE account and keep SSI benefits coming in. If you go over 100,000, that could start to affect your SSI payments or eligibility. So $100,000, that's what to keep in mind for SSI recipients specifically. But if you're not worried about SSI, you can have up to $529,000 total in the account. Okay, so $100,000 for SSI recipients, $529,000 for everyone else. And the other number to keep in mind is the contribution limit for each year. So for this calendar year, it's $19,000 that you can contribute. So meaning $19,000 you can put in at any point during the calendar year. So if you haven't put any money in now, you have until the end of, you have till December 31st to put in $19,000 if you can save that much. And actually next year it's going to increase to 20,000, which we're excited about. Okay, so those are the numbers to keep in mind. That's how much money you can put into the account. $19,000 per year, 20,000 next year, over multiple years, 100,000 for an SSI recipient, or 529,000 if you're not worried about SSI. So why? So one other thing to keep in mind is if you're working and your employer does not pay into a retirement plan within that calendar year. So I know this doesn't affect most folks, but some folks who are working, maybe they're self-employed, something like that, not paying into a retirement plan, you may be eligible to save even more money in a calendar year. So for this year, you could save potentially up to $34,060 in your account for this calendar year. Again, but it's only specific for those workers who do not have money put into their retirement plan this year. There's a bit of a calculation on it. This is called Able to Work. You can find some more information on our website to learn a bit more how it works. We have some forms and all that sort of stuff. But a great opportunity to be able to save even more money within the year. Okay, so that's how much money you can put in the account. Why would you want to save? Why would you want to do that? Why maximize what you have? Well, remember, there are those annual limits. You can get up to, if you're not receiving SSI, you can save up to $529,000, but obviously it take you multiple years to do that. And so if you can, you'll want to try to maximize how much money you can put into the account each year. That's going to help you build a nest egg. That's going to help you plan for the future. When we talk about the investment options, they'll give you more opportunities to grow what you have, and just be in a better position for tomorrow and for every year after. So some things you want to keep in mind. So one is there is a time limit on when you can submit contributions. So for if you're submitting a contribution online through the website, you have up to 1 p.m. Pacific time, California time, on Tuesday, December 30th. So if you try to do a contribution after that, it would count as part of your 2026 amount. So that's your limit for that. If you want to send in a paper check, which is a little bit slower, but you can do that, you would have to get it. It would have to be received by December 31st. It would have to be actually received. So you can't mail it by then. You'd have to get it in so they can process it by that point. And so that's your limit between now and the end of the year. But the clocks, it starts back over next year. So again, next year you'll be able to put in $20,000. So it doesn't matter how much you put in this year. Next year you start back over from $0. You're going to add up to 20,000. Okay, so that's what you want to do with your money. You want to put in money. So what are your options to be able to contribute money into the account? So we'll get into each of these a bit more, but your options at a high level, you can either do one-time or recurring contributions. You can do direct deposits. You can do a 529 rollover, or you can contribute by check. So let's talk about those one-time and recurring contributions. So you can link a bank account to your CalABLE account. That's what I do. It's just the most convenient thing. And you can do one-time contributions. If you're trying to plan it out and you think you can put in this much money this month, but you're not sure about later, you can do a one-time contribution. But if you're thinking about long-term saving and planning and that sort of thing, it's really best as a general financial literacy good practice to set up recurring contributions. So you can do monthly contributions, twice a month, annual. And even if you have recurring, you can still do one-time contributions as well. And you can do multiple recurring contributions. You have a lot of different options. So really, it's going to be whatever's best for you. System will probably let you do it. So those are those one-time and recurring contributions. You can also do direct deposit. This is particularly great if you're receiving Social Security payments like SSI or SSDI. You just stick the money in, and you're good to go. So if you receive SSI and you're worried about that $2,000 limits, and you have a bank account somewhere else, so you have some money in, you can just direct deposit those Social Security payments straight into your CalABLE account and not worry about accidentally going over that $2,000 limit in some other account you have elsewhere. It's really just the most convenient option. So for Social Security deposits, direct deposits, it does need to be the full amount. Social Security will only do one full amount for a direct deposit. But you can also do payroll deposits. So if you're working, you can work with your employer to do direct deposit into your account. Depending on your employer, they may be able to do either all, like the whole paycheck goes into the account, or a portion of it goes into an account. It kind of depends what options your employer has. Um, but you can keep that in mind, and that'll just help you put money directly in. Now, a couple caveats. So one is you can only do one of those two, unfortunately. You can't do both a payroll direct deposit and a Social Security direct deposit. The other thing to keep in mind is you still have those contribution limits. So, for this calendar year, it's $19,000. You wouldn't be able to direct deposit more than $19,000, or, $19,000 total contributions into your account. So something to think about. And if you want more information about direct deposits, there's a link on the screen here. The website is calable.ca.gov/how-it-works/contributions. There is a link in the chat as well that Madeline hopefully put in. So you can use that and find some more about how direct deposit works. Now, another option, 529 college savings plan. If you have money in a 529 college savings plan, you can roll that money over into a CalABLE account. So maybe you have money set aside, but a child has a disability and you're not sure that college is the right thing to save for. Or you just have extra money set aside in a college savings plan that wasn't entirely used for college, something like that. You can roll it into a CalABLE account. So there's some more information on our website. There's a link in the chats to where you can find the forms for the rollover, but it's on our website, calable.ca.gov. We have a forms page there you can go through. So yeah, you can roll it over. Keep in mind that it is still subject to the annual contribution limits. Again, $19,000 for this year. But you could roll over, if you have more than that, you could roll it over multiple years. And I'll just do a pitch for those who haven't thought about college savings. You can look at ScholarShare, which is also here in the Treasurer's office. They have a great college savings program as well. Okay, and then the last main way you can contribute is by check. This way it's a little bit slower. It's not quite as quick. It's not quite as convenient, but it is an option that's available because sometimes just check just makes the most sense, and that's okay. So we have a contribution form on our website, calable.ca.gov. If you go there, you can get some more information about some of those forms, including the contribution form for contributions via check. And we'll have a link in the chat. If you do that, if you submit by check, you just fill out that form, you mail it in. You'll want to make sure that it's payable to CalABLE, and make sure you type or write it clearly so they can read where it's going. Make sure you have that form completely filled out. So don't staple the check to the form, however. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that it will take a little bit longer to process it because it has to be mailed and that has to be hand processed. So something to keep in mind. When you send it in, you'll have to wait a little bit longer. Which is, one of the reasons why we do recommend doing electronic deposits whenever you can. All right. So those are the main ways to do contributions. So now let's talk about gifting. I'm going to hand it over to Madeline to do another poll for the audience.
Great. Thank you, Thomas. So now we're talking about gifting. So have you set up your gifting page? Yes, no, you're planning to, or not applicable to you. Give this just a few seconds. Okay, so 7% have already set up your gifting page. So that is great. Definitely be sure to share that link with your family and friends. 52% said no, and then 10% said that they are planning to. So now we'll be talking about gifting, why you should consider setting up your gifting page, and what are the benefits. So I will turn things back over to Thomas.
All right. So yeah, definitely folks should definitely be checking out the gifting page. It is so easy. I did it for my kids. It took like took like 40 seconds. It's like to do. It really doesn't take much time at all. It's right in the account portal. It doesn't take a whole lot to do it, and there's a lot of great benefits coming out of it. So, when you set up a gifting page, um And again, it's very quick to do, and then you'll have a link that you can send to anyone you like. So friends, family, anyone you run into, it doesn't matter. You can send them the link, and it'll take them directly to a page where they can contribute directly to that account. So I have a gifting page for each of my kids. I can send it to their grandparents who live way far away. We're up here in Sacramento. They're in Palm Springs. They don't get to see their grandkids very much. So it's a great way to guilt a family member into supporting someone else through the gifting page. Um, so it's really easy to do. They can go in, they can do one time, they can do recurring. There's different options. They can set up a profile there. Um, and some things to keep in mind. So one is when they do those gifts, it doesn't count as income. That can be a big issue for like an SSI recipient, for example, where money gifted by a family member to help pay for like mortgage or something like that, or pay for rent, that sometimes can count against them as income, as a resource, and that can affect their SSI payments. But if you put it directly in a CalABLE account as a gift, it doesn't count against them as income. Now, it does, however, count as it counts against the contribution limit. Again, it's $19,000. That's the standard limit this year. So gifts would count towards that, just like any other contributions. So we have more information on our website about the gifting page, and there's a link on the screen, and there's a link in the chat as well. So let's talk about who can add to it. So I already mentioned this a bit, but who can contribute into a CalABLE account. So the beneficiary can contribute an account. I can contribute into my own account. I can just go in and just put money in from my bank, for example. And anything I put in, it's that would count as income if I earned it myself, like from my paycheck or something like that. That still counts as income. I'm subject to that $19,000 standard annual limit. However, if my employer didn't pay into a retirement plan this year, I could potentially contribute even more. But for most folks, it'd be that $19,000 limit. Now, but again, third-party folks can also contribute. So friends or family, an entity, anyone else can contribute into the account. They can use the gifting page. And it doesn't count as income. It doesn't count as in-kind contribution. So, they can easily put the money in and be able to help protect their benefits and keep the benefits intact. But again, one thing you have to remember is while it doesn't count as income if it's a gift, if you worked, if the person with disability is working, the money they're earning is still income. So that still is income that can affect their eligibility for benefits. But again, it doesn't matter what source the money is coming from, they can have up to $19,000 contributed into the account each year. Okay, so now let's talk about saving and investing. So handing it over to Madeline again for one more quick poll.
Yes. So we want to know, how are you using your CalABLE account? Are you using it for long-term savings like retirement? Maybe you're saving for something big like a house or a car. Even a vacation could count. Saving for vacation could count in this medium-term savings category. Maybe you are using the account for day-to-day expenses like bills, or just for, those kind of day-to-day expenses, going to a restaurant. Or maybe you are saving for emergencies and CalABLE is your emergency fund. So I'll give this just a few more seconds for everyone to fill out. Okay, this is great to see. We have a wide range of what people are using their CalABLE account for. And this was a multiple choice selection, so maybe you're saving for multiple things as well. But I do see 37% of people are saving for the long term. Then we have 28% are saving for those medium term savings. So a big purchase or maybe something in a few years that you're saving for. 18% are using the CalABLE account for more of those day-to-day expenses, and then 19% are saving for emergencies. So this is really great, and these savings goals can help you think about your investment options. And so Thomas is going to go all over that right now.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Well, it's great to see that mix. I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm saving for different things. I'm saving kind of long-term retirement type savings for myself, but I'm also saving medium term in case, in case I need to get a car or something like that. For my kids, it's, saving for when they're adults. But I also use their account sometimes to help them buy things at the store and, help them learn how to purchase things. So it can be whatever it needs to be. That's the important thing. So, but speaking of that long-term savings, it's great to see a lot of people kind of think of the long term. There are options that we have. So the CalABLE account has 8 different portfolio options that you can pick and choose from. So, and we'll show what it looks like in a bit. But there's a mix of them. They're a mix of stocks and bonds and that sort of thing. So I'll when we get to that screen, I'll show you. I'll walk you through a little bit of what that means. But the important thing is there's different options you can choose from to help you plan for what you need to plan for. And that gives you an opportunity to be able to grow what you have, especially when we consider compound earnings and growth over many years. We do have fees on the account, which we'll get into in just a bit. But it's basically it's $30 per year plus a small percentage of what you have invested in the account. And this is really important. You don't pay state or federal taxes on anything you earn in the account. So any of the earnings inside the account are all exempt. They're all tax-free, which is a huge opportunity for when you're thinking about that long-term growth. You do have to use it for those qualified expenses that I mentioned before. Otherwise, you can't get that tax benefit. But as long as you're doing that, it's a great opportunity to be able to grow the account. Okay, so I mentioned we have 8 portfolios. So on the screen here is what that looks like. We have one portfolio at the top, FDIC insured portfolio. We also call it the cash portfolio. That is FDIC insured up to $250,000. And that has an interest rate tied to the account, right? And then we have 7 other investment options that are tied. As you can see, they're tied to mixes of stocks and bonds and securities. And so you can pick and choose. You can do multiple ones. Really, it's going to be whatever you think you need. That you can pick and choose what's going to work for you. So, speaking of choosing, so what are some things to think about when you're choosing? So everyone's going to be thinking about something different when they're considering, when you're considering how you're planning for the future, you're thinking about long term or medium term or day to day, you're going to have different considerations. And so it's really going to be unique to you. So, I couldn't necessarily tell you what you should and shouldn't do, even if I were qualified to do that. I don't know your situation. But these are some things to think about to help you plan and help you plan out for what investment options make sense for you. So, think about the goal. What's the goal that you want to start with? So, are you looking at saving for the long term? Well, really a lot of the options make sense. If you can do a mix of some of the ones that are a little bit more risky, the ones that have a little bit less risk, whatever you're most comfortable with. But you can really look at all the options as something that might make sense for you. Or maybe you're really just looking at more on day-to-day expenses. really thinking about you're actively using the account to pay for things throughout the year. You want to make sure it's a little bit, a little bit more stable, for example, something like that. You can look at that FDIC insured option. So that is more, again, we also call it the cash option. It's more like a savings account. And you don't have to be as worried about, what's going on in the markets or that sort of thing. Um, and it kind of works well for if you're frequently accessing the account. Or maybe you're doing both. You're looking at long-term savings, long-term growth, but you also want to pay for things, on an ongoing basis. Well, spread it out. You can use multiple portfolios. You can use one portfolio, you can use all 8 portfolios, you can use any mix of them. So, what is going to be the most effective for you? You have options. Really, that's the thing to think about. Now, we do have we do have a bit of information about historical performance. So I want to be very clear. This is just historical. We're not saying this is what will happen in the future. So past performance, as you can see at the bottom, past performance is no guarantee of future results. But this is just to give you a sense of, what the growth in the account has been over the last month, the last year, the last handful of years. So as you can see, there's a pretty big range of growth. I personally I like to look at like the last year. What does the last year look like? You can see the income portfolio had just under 6% of growth. The growth portfolio had more than 22% of growth, and there's kind of a range in between there. And then the FDIC insured cash option had currently, as of today, has a 1.46% APY. So, you can look and see, okay, well, what do you want to target? You want to, again, you want to think about the risk that comes with each of those portfolios. But at least you can get a sense for what's been happening, over the last year, few years, whatever you're interested in. And then I did mention that there are fees associated with the account. Um, so again, there's a $30 annual fee for all accounts, and that's paid out quarterly, meaning each quarter you pay $7.50. And then there are underlying fees for based on the different investment options you pick and choose. So we have more information on our websites. If you go to calable.ca.gov, there's investment options right at the top. There's also a link in the chat. But this is just to get you a sense. So if you had $3,000 in the account for a year, then you're looking at roughly somewhere between $38 and $44 in fees, depending on which investment options you choose, right? So that's just an example. But again, you'll want to keep in mind. So while you're paying these fees, you also you also are benefiting from tax-free growth. So you're paying fees, but you're also growing without having to pay taxes on what you've earned. So just something to think about when you think about the kind of the true costs of having a CalABLE account. Okay, now we're going to get to our panel in just a bit. But one last thing before we do that. So how do you open a CalABLE account? So hopefully for those, I know half of you folks haven't been to one of these webinars before, probably plenty of you don't have a CalABLE account. How would you open an account? So it's pretty easy. This is our website on the screen here. It's calable.ca.gov. Along the top, there's some links like eligibility, investment options, join the mailing list. But there's a big gold button that says open an account. So if you click on that, that'll take you through, that'll get you started on the enrollment process. And so, some things to keep in mind for opening an account. One, it takes 15 minutes. It took me a little bit less than that. It's really not too bad to create an account. It's not that much different from opening like a bank account or something like that. So some things to keep in mind. So one is that, and this is very important for me personally, the owner of the account is the person with the disability. So the money is theirs. It belongs to them and it needs to be used for them. However, it can be opened by someone else. So I'm independent. I can open my own account. I manage my own account. But for my kids, They're kids, they don't know what they're doing. I open an account for them, I manage it for them, and I can make decisions on their behalf. And when they're 18, I could hand it over to them if they're able to make those decisions, or I can continue to manage it. And one thing we're really excited about that's pretty new is you can add more people to help manage the account as well. So while there's one person running the account, others can help can be given access to the account to either make contributions or see what the balance is. There's different options. Really excited. That is brand new. Um, and another thing to think about, you can open the account in 20 different languages right now. So besides English, you have Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Portuguese, Polish, French, Russian. I forget what else, a lot of languages. So there's a lot of options for folks in the community. Okay, so with that, I am going to hand it over to our panel and to Anne to introduce them, so you get to know some of our Able Accounts ambassadors. So Anne?
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you everyone for attending. We've got two of our ambassadors here today. We have Charles and we also have Armand. So I'm going to begin with Armand. If Armand, let's see, can you move back? There you go. Perfect.
Yep.
Now I can see you, Armand. Armand, can you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself? And we're going to talk a little bit later about your savings goal, but at least just introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Armand Buhanda. I work for my local ILC in Claremont, California. I've been at this job for 8 years now, and actually it was through my job that I heard about CalABLE through one of the email lists that I subscribed to. I also manage and run all of the classes and workshops here at our center for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as those who are on the autism spectrum. And in my free time, I enjoy hiking and listening to music.
Great. And I understand you recently got engaged. Is that right,
That is
Armand?
correct, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
big day coming up. So Charles, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Charles Beckham, and I live above Sacramento, south of Auburn in Loomis, California. And I've gotten here because I opened a Able account for my then 8-year-old grandson. I learned about CalABLE from the National Able Resource Center. And through that process, I opened up an account for my grandson as his authorized legal representative to have an account for him.
Great. And so with that, we'll talk a little bit more, Charles, with you about how did you open the account? I know you, I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'm going to let you tell everyone how you opened that account for him.
Yeah, so so what we did is for all our grandchildren, when they were born, we opened a 529 or a college fund for them. And we would make contributions into that once they were born and tried to do it yearly to do that. So upon learning, through CalABLE, I was able to learn that I could take that 529 fund that I was saving for our grandson, and I could roll that fund over into his Able account. So, so the process was really, really smooth. So the mechanics of it, basically what I did is initially open the account for the grandson with the minimum amount, which was $25. And then I used forms on CalABLE site that I filled out that described his 529 and where it was. In our case, his 529 account, which is a college, his college fund, was at Schwab. And we were investing in different stocks and things at Schwab. So the process of rolling it over into an ABLE account was simply filling out the forms from the CalABLE site, and the CalABLE managing company actually contacted Schwab and effected the rollover to get the money transferred from there directly into his account. Now, there was, you know, the rollover can be up to whatever the contribution amount is for that year. So, in the case of our grandson, Henry, it took, we did the rollover and then we could do another rollover in 12 months. So, it took a couple of times to get all the money moved over there into the CalABLE account. But so that's how we got there. That's how we funded it. And then, based upon that, we started making different decisions on how we were going to use that.
Yes, and I know this is about maximizing your account, and I know you basically maximize your CalABLE account through the 529 rollover, but I know you've also had to access some of those funds since you've put them in the CalABLE account. Can you talk a little bit about that experience,
Yeah, I
Charles?
will. And, also it kind of feeds into, what the investment decisions that we made in the account when we set it up. But although, our grandson, was just 8 years old at that time, and primarily we were thinking longer term for him to provide for him longer term, there was also occasion that we also wanted to make available the ability to have, you know, immediate spend when required or when needed. I can give you two big examples of how we used money that we had in his ABLE account. One is that we used it to buy assistive technology that, using tablets that he would be able to use images to communicate in speech, that type of assistive technology, as well as, a newest thing is using VR headsets to help him get orientated to different things. And so we were able to use the ABLE account money to do those kind of things. There's one other area that also, to give you the range of how we use that, he fell, he broke his teeth. And so we were able to use some money from there for emergency dental services and inspection and so forth. So those are those are the three real life examples how the ABLE account was really, ready on very, very useful to be able to dip into that to provide those things. And all of those things, it's interesting because if you think about all of those items, really go to helping him achieve a better life experience, which is what ABLE stands for. So I think those are three good examples of, how we utilize that.
Thank you, Charles. Those are, I mean, yes, I mean, those examples really do illustrate the versatility of the ABLE accounts. Now, Armand, I know you're there at work, and so and you primarily, from what I remember in our conversations, have been just saving in your ABLE account. You want to talk a little bit more about your savings goals and, where you see that ABLE account helping you further in your life?
Yes, I initially opened up my account so that I could save to eventually move out on my own. Now uh, saving up and going through the process of looking for apartments is are two totally different ventures. I had set a goal of 15,000 um before I would start looking. Well, I had reached that goal and then started looking, and well, reality kind of set in, you know. But in that, I'm still living at home. Every now and then I do look at apartment prices. I'm not gonna lie. Now I know Anne mentioned that yes, I recently got engaged, so now a goal with that is using some of the money to hopefully find, still move out on my own, but hopefully one day own a home. That's a new goal of mine. It's more recent than just moving out into an apartment. Another thing I'm saving for as well is eventually going back to school, getting my MBA in nonprofit management. Um, but yeah, that's it. I mean, in terms of using the account, I'll admit I probably don't dip into it as much as others, but I do use it from time to time when I need to buy either, some AT that I need for screen reading or magnification. Also, from time to time, my canes do break because I am low vision, so I do use a cane, especially at night. Um, and that I have used that to buy new canes or new um, tips for my cane so that I can use it. And so it has really helped me out in the long run with some of those expenses.
Well, that again speaks to the versatility of the account. And this webinar is, talking about maximizing your accounts and things like that. We touched on a little bit of investments. I don't need to know what your options are, but how did you make those decisions of what portfolios you may or may not have selected? Did you do your research? Did you talk to people? So Armand, I know since you're strictly investing and saving, have what's been your experience through that, using your
Through
account in
that,
that?
I when I initially opened my account, well, before I opened it, I talked to my parents about it because, they have experience with investing and investments. This was the first time I really opened an account like this. I don't know if I ever had a 529. As far as I know, I don't believe I did. But yeah, so in that, I uh, I talked to my parents about it, and they thought it was a great idea to open an account, but I still wanted clarification on understanding the different investment options. And my parents gave me sound advice, and I've had the account since the beginning of 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, one of our first account or in probably have a low account number being since we opened in December of 2018. So, well, thank you, Armand, for sharing that. And I know Charles, you probably have a different experience. So if you want to just share a little bit of your information or what you want to share about how you're managing your account, that would be wonderful
Sure.
for our audience today.
Yeah, so do you think we got to CalABLE by rolling over a 529 account at the college fund? So when we set the college fund up, we were uh, using that fund ostensibly to raise and save as much and earn as much as we could, so that there'll be money available when that particular child got to, college years, so they could spend the money on college and do the things that needed to happen. So the fact that we opened up the account for our 8-year-old grandson, we actually had the same goal. The only difference is we weren't limiting of what we expect to grow to just his being 18 years old, but it could go on beyond that. So our selection of what the investments that we had, since we had such a long-term time horizon, we were able to invest everything in our 529 into aggressive stock growth. So basically 100% in stocks, waiting and hoping that it would grow over that 18 years of time. So it was easy to transfer that same you know, that same goal when we opened the Able account because we were still awaiting and wanting to grow over that long time horizon of 18 years or more in his case. So we were able to go into the Able account. And the interesting thing that I think this is really important that people understand, the same option that I had at Schwab in order to invest in stocks that would grow, the equivalent investment is also available through the CalABLE investment options. So we were able to basically 1-to-1 when we moved over to select that same aggressive growth and stock options for the Able account that we had. Now, the only difference that we made is we also put a little bit into the FDI insured portfolio, so we would have money available in case of emergency needs or other kind of things that we had. Because the reality is over 18 years, I mean, the stocks are going to go up and down over a long-term horizon. They're mostly going to be up over that long term. So we wanted to have that long-term growth, but have a smaller portion that would be less volatile, that would be available for us to use for any needs that might come up, either emergent needs or, needs that he might need to help his life be a little bit better. So that's kind of how we looked at the investment and how we split it up and how we used it. But really, it was really driven by that long time horizon that we have in order to grow and earn over a long period of times, even beyond the time that he's 18 years old. So that's kind of how we looked at making those investment decisions. And also, I will say that the fee structure was very good. I mean, it was commensurate with what we were seeing in other places. So both the combination of options of investments and the fees of those investments were very favorable to long-term growth and earnings.
Thank you, Charles. I know that that's a great way of one of the reasons why we here at CalABLE are not really able to give people, investment advice, because your situation and Armand's are both different, but you still have the same goal, of saving as your primary objective. So, we really, it's a great example of diversity. How we do talk about diversity, letting people know that they can diversify their accounts, and having those short-term and long-term goals is really up to the individual. It's not that's something CalABLE cannot make that decision for people. Armand, is there anything else you would like to add about how your investment strategy or anything after hearing Charles, if there's anything you want to add to what you're currently doing?
I I really just try to put in at least, you know, uh, at least 200 a month. More recently, I have been able to contribute more per month. But I do want to agree with what Charles had to say on, it really means what it says, achieving a better life expectancy. I even said it in my video when we redid my ambassador video. I said, yeah, it's helped me, you know, do things that, most people, people without a disability get to do. And in that, just because I'm a person with a disability, why should I be banned, or why should I forego those experiences? Having an account like this has helped me be able to help fund some of those experiences.
Yeah. Well, I thank you both for your time this afternoon. Charles, always a delight to have you. And Armand, it's great seeing you again. I know you've been around since we first had our ambassadors back in 2020. So really appreciate your support and your advocacy for the program. And Thomas, I am going to turn this back over to you.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I will echo that. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Armand. It's great to hear from you guys, and let folks get a window into, what it's like to have a CalABLE account, what it means for you, and some, how you guys are thinking about it, how you guys are saving and planning. So thank you for that. Going to go through some quick reminders, and then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. So first of all, how to contact us. There's some contact information on the website here, including a QR code that will take you to our emails and newsletters. We can sign up for all that. But we have a customer service center. The phone number for that is 833-CalABLE, or 833-225-2253. If you give them a call, they can answer questions that you might have. They can support more than 240 languages. They can support hearing impairments through a relay service. They will help you out. So any questions, please give them a call. Now we have, I think, our last poll question. So I'll hand it over to Madeline for that.
Great. Thank you, Thomas. This is the last poll of the webinar. So have you ordered your prepaid card? Yes, no, you're planning to, or not applicable. We'll give this just a few more seconds. Okay, I'm going to end in 3, 2, 1. Okay. And that poll, okay, so I see 13% of people have ordered their prepaid card. Hopefully you are finding that to be very useful to help you use your CalABLE account. And then for those of you who said no or you're planning to, that's 38%, and then 13%. Thomas is going to talk a little bit about what the prepaid card actually is and why you might want to consider ordering your prepaid card in the next few days. So Thomas, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sure. Okay. So holiday time. We have a bunch of holidays coming up. Now is a great time to go ahead and get that prepaid card. So you can get a prepaid card attached to the account. That's you decide, you load money onto it, you decide where you use it. If you're managing someone else's account, you can get a card for them and for yourself. You can also set limits on where it can work, how much can be taken out at any given point, how much you can spend at any given point. So it's very flexible. It's way more convenient than trying to do transfers out of the account. So if you want your card, you should go into your account and get one. We cover the fees for the card, the monthly fees for the card. So if you go into the portal, and log in, you can request the prepaid Able card through there. Takes 6 to 8 business days to get it in the mail. Took me about 1 week to get mine and my kids' cards. So it's not too bad. And then you can use it again for all those qualified expenses. So, you can't use it for presents that are for someone else. I want to be clear about that. You can't use someone's CalABLE account and buy presents for someone else. You can't do that. But you can pay for things that might be holiday related, some things to think about. Travel, or, ugly Christmas sweaters, or, Christmas ham or something. I don't know. There's a lot of options you can use it for. Now is a great time to do that and take advantage of, holiday sales and that sort of thing. So if you need help getting a card, you can call. Again, that call center is 833-225-2253. But again, you just go into your portal, log into your account, request it that way, and you can get your card. And what's great is the card, there's an app specifically for that prepaid card, so you can manage your expenses in there as well. So it's really convenient. And One more thing, something that we always get a lot of questions about, always a lot of interest in is special needs trusts. So next month, we are having a webinar specifically for special needs trusts. We're going to be joined by the Proxy Parent Foundation. They're going to talk about how special needs trusts work, a little bit about what they do. It's going to be awesome. So what's going to be great about this webinar is we're going to talk about not only what a trust is, not only what CalABLE is, but how you can use them well together because they do really work really well as a team. So please join our webinar next month, December 10th at 2 o'clock. And one more reminder, I mentioned this earlier, but next year, the annual contribution limit is going to increase. So it'll be $20,000 instead of $19,000. $20,000 you can contribute next year. Again, if you're eligible for able to work, if you're working and you and your employer don't play into a retirement plan, you can contribute up to an additional $15,650. Again, more information about able to work is on our website, so you can see how that calculation works. And then after the webinar, you're going to get a survey. So please fill this out. This is very helpful for us to see who we're connecting with, how we're doing, anything we should change about the webinar. Do I talk too fast? Whatever it might be, go ahead, put it in there and let us know. And if there's any questions we didn't get to in the Q&A, you can ask that there and we can try to get back to you. And then last, my legally mandated disclosures, just some reminders that we do have, again, we have those investment options. And any investment options, anything that's tied to the stock market carries some level of risk. So that's something you want to think about when you're looking at investments. Again, we do have an FDIC insured portfolio that is insured up to $250,000 and has an interest rate. So that's something else you can consider as an option. Okay, and I think that's it. So with that, yeah, thank you everyone. Just want to say another thank you to Charles and Armand for helping join us. It's always really great for I think people to be able to hear what it's like to be, what it's like to have an able account from an able account holder. Again, sorry, I know there's a lot of questions. We got to 120 answers, it looks like. We weren't able to get to quite all of them, but if you have any outstanding questions, you can put it into that post-webinar survey. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it. And don't forget to join our webinar next month on special needs trusts and CalABLE. And thank you, everyone.